Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here with friends and friends to become. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the importance of unlearning and the reason that this needs to be a conscious decision, and let me tell you why. I was born here in North Macedonia and pretty much started my journey of learning here, and I became very good at accumulating knowledge. Let me tell you a quick fact about this. Our brain has approximately 85 billion neurons, and as we learn, we initiate the creation of new connections, or as science calls it, neuroplasticity. Why is this important? We have 85 billion chances of making positive connections. For me, it was never enough. I would hear something, go online, do research. This drive is very strong and usually is beyond myself. And if there is a learning opportunity, I will be the first one to sign up for that. Recently, when I enrolled to my master's degree in artificial intelligence, I was a bit scared to tell it to my mom. I told her, and she said, again? Perhaps it is very difficult for me to explain why I choose learning over all other things. This was so true for my past professional experiences. Guess what my mom says each and every time when I switch my job? Again, not really. She asks me why on earth I would change a job that I'm doing very good, established, learned it, performing very well, and have security. It is difficult to explain why, but for me, I will use bits and pieces, help from science to explain why this is the case. I found it somewhere, it's called Growth Mindset, and I would like to talk to you about this book. There is something in particularly I liked. Dr. Devek asks an important question. Is success about learning or proving you're smart? She explained this with children who were given two sets of puzzles. One set of puzzles were very easy to solve, and the other one was somehow difficult to solve, and observed patterns of the choices the children made. Children with fixed mindset constantly made the same selection of the puzzles, and those were the puzzles who they could solve. On the other hand, children with a growth mindset made a strategic choice and decide to choose the puzzles that they can't solve, but they had also a very important question. What can I learn from this? How can I manage these tasks? I guess my stand and choices become clearer. Maybe I clearly did not explain the why, the driver for that choice. Back in the days, I enrolled to a science high school with lots of maths and science. I was doing pretty good on these subjects in my primary school, so there was no reason why I should fail in my high school. Girls at those times were constantly fed with the message, boys are better in maths and science. And I asked myself, but also the others around, why? Not much was done to explain. Neither this explanation was scientific enough. Imagine what a scientific explanation meant for a 15-year-old me. I was very scientific then. I put myself on the challenge and I said, I want to figure it out how I want to learn this, and completed the schools with what we say here, straight A's. But this was actually more important. It was the reinforcement and the strategy that I adopted for life. This approach into the academic and professional life took me quite far, literally very far. I tried Google to help out. Even Google couldn't help me out. According to Google, I have accomplished my maximum number of destinations. Well, I just realized here in this list, I don't have Athens, Georgia, because that really messed up the calculation somehow. Well, long ago already gone beyond. And I'm sure that this will not be the end. This journey was somehow very important that I had to learn, and it was the power of unlearning. In my formal education, I had a very strong and rigorous training on methods, especially quantitative methods. In social sciences, quantitative methods is actually the only way we can generalize the findings. We had a special guidance on representative sample. Those out there, social scientists in the room, know what I'm talking about. So, how do we choose a representative sample? Look at the population, pick few parameters, women, men, urban, rural. Perhaps we were looking at parameters such as education, income, etc., etc. Then pick each subcategory and design the sample. We have also realized that when we target individuals that match, given the categories of each subset, we are good to go. But when we are not, we have to do more research. Then I realized that in our societies, we are in a stage that we have developed technologies better than ever before. We have developed also systems for data collection. We have supercomputers that are able to compute massive data sets. Is this a game changer? Can we look at the use of new methods here? My answer is yes. I have to continuously unlearn that the representative sample might not be the only answer I'm looking at. We have data from the whole population, and we can use artificial intelligence in order to generate knowledge quicker, more reliable, and sometimes real-time insights. Unlearning this can help us make better decisions, better judgments, and predict better. Let me use another example. Those who know me already know that I work with a great passion in the field of development work. We are really good at one thing, is to sense, like something is going on, and what is going on, analyze, and then respond to a given challenge. These are the complicated challenges and circumstances. I would collect all sorts of data, analyze, try to design the response, and would target this good practice method. However, working as a solution mapper at UNDP Accelerator Lab in North Macedonia changed my world, made me unlearn my approach. The approach of a solution mapper is to look at the ecosystem either to probe, act, or to identify others who probe and act in order to sense and design response. Especially important for the work of innovation we do, it is not always that we have the time and the resources to really prove the concept or develop the MVP. What we can do is that through constant work, we can unlearn our previous approach, and we can really learn what the others did in the field. Tapping into collective knowledge is beautiful. What comes with this new approach is that you engage with communities openly, and their learnings become your learnings. Now let us think again on the statement. We have always done it this way. How much we have done it this way? Where would we have been if we have always done it this way? Yet, as a society, we have found many examples of unlearning. I will use one. In December 1952, London was covered in smog for 5 days. The Industrial Revolution and the rapid development of many cities in Europe actually brought air pollution challenges within the cities. So what happened is that after the 5-day smog, The number of fatalities counted about 4,000. But with today's estimation, we know that was around 12,000 people. The Clean Air Act came 4 years later. Let me illustrate another example. Smoking in the first half of the 20th century was a very predominant feature. Cigarettes had its golden age, and as such, it was an acceptable social behavior in most of the places in the world. We were smoking in hospitals, we were smoking in schools, we were smoking in TVs, basically we were smoking everywhere. The first evidence about a positive correlation between smoking and lung cancer came in 1950. And then ever since 1950, we are working with people, with communities, with everyone on unlearning this behavior. This was a turning point in history that people started to learn this practice. In history, we have many, many examples that illustrate the unlearning. Sometimes it takes us few years to respond, it collectively, sometimes longer. And sometimes we never respond to it. The sooner we realize this, the sooner we can make a conscious decision on unlearning. The faster we will be in reaching out to alternatives and other solutions. Unlearning might be the key to open up for innovation, acceleration, and to tackle the wicked challenges as a society. But why is it important that I unlearn? In life, we often say, I will learn a skill and will reach my goal. But in reality, that's not the case. Our paths are far away from being linear. I would all ask you, please close your eyes. And go back to the moment that you were taught to ride the bike. The struggle, perhaps how many times you failed, perhaps the fact that the start was the most difficult moment of the riding the bike journey. We learn a skill, a knowledge, hoping that it will take us through the life. What I liked about why we need to learn to unlearn, in Paul Taylor's blog was visuals which really indicates that our lives are not singular, are not linear paths. We need to learn and unlearn specific skills throughout our lifetime. This is one option. But how about this? What other set of skills we need to learn in order to survive? I want to talk why unlearning is so difficult. There is one thing that is called behavioral consistency. And this refers to the tendency that people have on making a decision and sticking to that decision. Because it's simpler than making a decision every time you face a problem, every time you face a challenge. This mechanism leads us to choose the previous method I used, the previous approach I used, or the previous skill I have. And yes, behavioral consistency is at individual and at collective level. Behavioral consistency helped us survive. We cannot argue with that. What we can argue is that the new knowledge shall guide us on what is to be unlearned. Conscious efforts, intentional behavior shall guide us to explore new paths. By this, I mean, as individuals, we try to unlearn our ways of doing things and give a chance to a new way of doing the things. And perhaps we should say more often, let's figure it out how to do it differently. The power of unlearning will open up new avenues, new perspectives, not only as a person, but also as a community, society, and as a country. Unlearning should be based on knowledge and conscious decision. What we have seen through the years, that is, the more we practice a skill, the better we are. Most probably, this graph sums up what we want to say. Mastery comes with efforts we make to excel in our work. Sometimes we need more, and sometimes we need less. I leave you with one question. How does the unlearning curve look like? Thank you.